I forgot.
When he says, I had this in the back of my closet. I said, it's St. Patty's Day tomorrow. And it does fit in because I'm going to talk first about the metaphysical meaning of St. Patrick's Day. So there's a lot more to it than just wearing of the green. I have wonderful, magnificent, spiritual granddaughter. She's 8 years old. Her name's Tatum. And she has a shirt that has a big S on it. And then it says, "Who needs luck?" So that's really what I'm going to talk about today in a lot of different ways. We are spiritual beings, have a magnificent spiritual experience here. And not only who needs luck, there's no such thing as luck. That's my statement. There's no such thing as luck. So, when we expect someone or something outside ourselves to make magic for us, we're going about it the wrong way. If there's no such thing as luck, then how do we create the things that we desire? Well, it's very simple. We create them from inside ourselves and then create the effect. So, what we believe in Science of Mind is that the universe is based on cause and effect, not luck and effect. Luck has nothing to do with it. In fact, we believe it doesn't really exist. Everything is cause and effect. So I just want to share with you a few thoughts about the metaphysical meaning of St. Patrick's Day. These particular thoughts were written by a man named Emmett Fox. Some of you may know who Emmett Fox is. He was born into an Irish Catholic family. He was raised with the legend of St. Patrick. And each year on St. Patrick's Day, his mother would tell the children the legend of St. Patrick. So he was very familiar with that. So, legend has it that St. Patrick, when he was around 15 years old, was taken and sold into slavery by his captors. I don't know who his captors were, but it just says he was sold into slavery. He spent 6 years tending the sheep of his cruel master, and during that time, he prayed in the mountains. Legend has it that in a single day, he would pray 100 prayers. While watching the sheep, he would meditate on the 3-leaf clover. And notice that it was a 3-leaf, not the 4. One day, an angel appeared to him. Now, when we have stories, especially from the Bible, where there are angels appearing, angels represent clear thinking. When the angel appeared to whoever it was, it's as if that person said, I got it. But that's the language that they use, and an angel appeared. So the clarity of thought appeared. And this angel gave him directions of how to escape. So legend has it he returned to Ireland. He stood on a hill. Now again, especially in biblical stories or other stories of that of spiritual nature, when people are on a hill or a highly elevated land, it represents that they are very high in their spiritual consciousness. And that's true also when if you have dreams at night. Well, not if you do, but if you remember them. And you are climbing upward or you are upward, it represents this very spiritual influence in your life. Remember in the Old Testament, Jacob was climbing the ladder, those stories. So it's bringing yourself up to a higher level of consciousness. Okay, so St. Patrick was experiencing this high level of consciousness, and he drove the serpents into the sea. Okay, well, what is that? Serpents are representing error thought. In other words, thoughts that are not really true, thoughts that are negative, we would say today. Negative thoughts would be represented. So St. Patrick drove the negative thoughts into the sea, as the legend goes, and banished them forever. So how does that represent our lives? Well, if we have negative thoughts, and we'll talk more about what they are and how they're created, if we have them, and most of us do, I know I do occasionally, anybody here have a negative thought? It's not going to work out, or who am I to think I can do this? All of that's negative thoughts. So we need to banish those into the sea, like St. Patrick did. So, if we don't, they're going to become our taskmaster. They are going to keep us in slavery, such as St. Patrick was kept in slavery. So we need to take a stand and get rid of those arrow ways. So he did that, and he did it for 6 years. Now, 6 is the number used in the creative story. 6 is sort of a completion kind of number. And so he overcame his negative thoughts. And the point of this is we can too. There are ways we can bring ourselves to the point of bringing ourselves above any negative thinking. And a couple little quips here that I thought were interesting is Emmett Fox says, "Don't let your worries get the best of you." Even Moses started out as a basket case. Many folks want to serve God, but only as advisors. And it's okay to be an advisor in the sense that you are planning an intention that you desire. In fact, one of Wayne Dyer's books is The Power of Intention, and it's a very, 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 very powerful book. So we're going to be talking about how we drive our negative thoughts into the sea. First, we have to get on the mountain. See, St. Patrick was able to do that once he was on the mountain. So, first, what we need to do is to bring ourselves to a higher consciousness, to a very high spiritual consciousness. And from that point, we're able to drive the serpents into the sea. Okay, so what do we have to do to get on the top of the mountain? One thing that's very important is to know that you are an individualized expression of the one power and presence. Science of mind does not believe in duality of any kind. There's not God and the. There is one presence encompassing everything. And each of us, you are an expression of that one power and presence in its entirety. Now, you're not just a little piece of it, and Andre's a piece of it, and Mark's a piece of it, and Jessica's a piece of it. How's that for names? Each one of us is individualized expression in its entirety. That's how the universe expresses. That's how divine mind expresses through each one of us. And not just through us, but this is most important, as us. As us. That's really the biggie. The one power and presence is expressing as us. And so each person on the planet, and I guess some off the planet by now, is an expression of this one power and presence. Whether he or she knows it or not, or whether they like it or not, it doesn't matter. The universe is going to work a certain way. There are universal laws, and they are just as strong and real as the law of gravity. We don't question gravity. We don't go up to the top of the Sheridan and jump off. Oh, I'm going to test gravity today, see if it's working today or if it took the day off. If we did that, they may lock us up somewhere. But the spiritual laws are just as real as our physical laws. And we don't doubt our physical laws. So it's to our benefit to know what the universal laws are so we can cooperate with them. In the introduction to my latest book, I started out, I prayed and prayed and prayed, and nothing happened. Hand me one of those books, if you would. Thank you. And has anyone in here ever done that? You thought you prayed and prayed and prayed, and you're not getting any results? Anybody? A few hands went up. Okay. There are certain universal laws, and it behooves us to know what they are. I'm just going to read a few sentences in here. I prayed and prayed and prayed, and nothing happened. Is the universal law taking a vacation? What's going on? Why is it not happening? Have you ever wondered what would happen if there were a way to pray that is effective in getting the results you desire? And then this book provides affirmative prayers for your use and provides tools for you to create your own, and resulting in a life of ease and grace. And it's okay to live easily, peacefully, harmoniously. In fact, that's what we were meant to do. That's what we were meant to do. We were not meant to struggle, although there are many messages from the universe, not so much from the universe, but from what we call race consciousness. Public opinion is another name for that. There are many messages that in order to get ahead, you have to struggle. This is your hard-earned money. Have you ever heard the expression, this is your easy-made money? No. It's always struggle, hard, difficult. And that is so unlike how we were meant to live. We were meant to live in ease. That's why when we're not living in ease, we experience dis-ease. Dis-ease. And when we experience dis-ease, we know something's not in harmony. Something's not in harmony. And sometimes, I know my experience has been, the universe uses what I call a 2x4 to get my attention, to show me what I need to change. To show me what I need to change. So all of this philosophy is about changing your thinking. And when we change our thinking, we change our lives. And the cause is within us. You see, as much as we know this intellectually, sometimes we still blame our parents, our ex-bosses, our ex-spouses. We find all kinds of people to blame for various things in our lives. But the truth is, each one of us is the cause to our own experience. Like it or not, or know it or not. So we want to know it. We want to know that's who we are. August Gold, who is a New Thought minister in New York City, told this story at a conference. It's the story of a woman who lived in downtown New York City on the Lower East Side. And one night, just an ordinary night, she decided to check her mail. She went down into the hallway of where she lived. She put her key in the lock and flipped open the box, and all of a sudden, this big, hurdy stranger crashed in through the door. Nobody wants something like this to happen, and we certainly don't wish it on anybody. So there she was, nevertheless. There she was, on the ground, crouching in fear. And August Gold goes on to say, and we sit in rooms like this, and we say we believe there is only one. And that is one of the beliefs in science of mind, that there is only one. Each of us is an expression of the one power and presence. Well, when things like this happen, how can we be a part of the one when this gigantic, burly man came in and wanted to attack this woman? She says, and this is challenging, I think, for us to get. August Gold says, think a minute now. Whose hands pushed her down? That's the radical question to ask. But if there is one power and presence, if God is and I am, if everything is nothing, as the Tao says, but the glory of the Tao, if everything we see, if everything that exists in this one power and presence that we are, then the very hand that seems to be pushing us down is our very own hand. It is our hand that's doing the pushing. Now stay with me here. This can get a little challenging. Now, who wants to think that somebody would bring such a thing upon themselves? See, we're brought up to blame the other person, to blame the event, to blame anyone but ourselves. Who, me? I wouldn't do this to myself. Well, let's look at it a little farther. We look with our human eyes and we see this woman on the ground, or we see ourselves after being let go from a job, getting a diagnosis in a medical office, dealing with something that we just can't believe is happening to us. Now, how are we doing that to ourselves? How are we doing? So, With our limited perspective, we do not understand what one really means, and the one is capitalized. Capital O, capital N, capital E is capitalized. Look what happened to me. Isn't this awful? And everybody around you agrees, yes, this is awful. Whatever it is that's happened. Okay. If there really is one power and one presence, and you are it, and it is you, if everything is nothing but the glory of the Tao called by different names, if all of life is a movement toward our enlightenment, and what is our enlightenment other than a realization of our wholeness, our perfection, our completion, or our greatness, then every single thing in our lives, without exception, is a movement toward our wholeness, our greatness, and our growth. Now, put yourself in this mindset. All of life is happening for me. All of my life is happening for me. Get out of the to-me consciousness. All of my life is happening to me. That's sort of negative because it puts the responsibility outside yourself. But when you switch that to all of my life is happening for me, then you begin to see that whatever it is that's going on in your life, it's really for you. In fact, there's a wonderful statement I like. It's the universe conspires to support you. Not just does it on its off moments, but actually plans and conspires to support you. So whatever's going on in your life, it's the universe conspiring to support you. Now, it may not show up in very pleasant ways. Could be a divorce. Could be the death of a child, your own child. Could be the death of a spouse, any kind of loss. Could be whatever it is. Whatever it is. And then you're thinking, well, okay, but how is this leading me into a better life? How is this representing the universe conspiring to support me? And one affirmation that I like to recommend that people use is, my life is unfolding perfectly no matter what. And can you believe that? My life is unfolding perfectly no matter what. Now, if you can believe that and stay with it, then you're actually going to help create a better life. If you see anything that comes up in your face, as I call it, which you wouldn't expect, and see it as only good, that this is part of the solution to a better life. It's not a hurdle. It's a part of the solution to a better life. Then you actually are creating a better life by believing that, by seeing it as good. Good is happening to me now is another one that you might say. And you don't have to understand it. So get out of your head on this one. Get out of your thinking. You don't have to understand it. The universe doesn't hang around waiting for you to understand everything it does. I mean, it's springtime, the flowers are starting to bloom, and the birds are taking care of their newborns. You don't need to understand it intellectually. Sometimes what it takes is a leap of faith through your heart. Through your heart. Follow your heart. One of my teachers was very strong on that. Follow your heart. Don't be attached to outcome. See, sometimes when we start to follow our heart, our intellect kicks in. But what about this? And what about that? And what about the other? And oh yeah, I forgot about this. And you bring in all these things that could go wrong. So, let me suggest that we follow our heart. There is a heart intelligence. There is a heart intelligence. And many times, you see, we have been taught to pay attention to our intellect, and we think of intelligence as simply being our thought process, our intellect. When actually heart intelligence is much more effective in leading us to where we want to be. Dr. Holmes, who founded this philosophy, many times referred to the philosophy as science of mind and spirit. Science of mind and spirit. So follow your heart. Don't be attached to outcome. There is such a thing as intuition within you. Many times we ignore it because we don't think it's very real or effective. Sometimes we think other people know better what's good for us than we do ourselves. Anybody here ever do that? I have. But our intuition, you see, no one needs to go through life unguided. Our intuition is always for us. It's always for us. And it's letting us know how we can reach our higher good. So, the one thing that we could do, other than know that the universe is conspiring to support you, is to know that your life is moving forward perfectly no matter what. So all of life is a movement toward our own wholeness. Imagine this. A concert violinist is performing a difficult piece in front of a large audience. Suddenly, there's a loud snap that reverberates throughout the auditorium. The audience knows immediately that a string has broken on her violin. Everyone expected the concert to end, probably thinking whether or not they'd get their money back. And she just kept on playing. What she did was to use the strings that she had left and refinger in such a way that she could produce the music for this particular piece. Sometimes we need to refinger our lives in such a way so that we can still play the music with whatever it is we've got left. Whatever, what do you have left? So that's a question to ask yourself. Maybe you've had loss of funds. Maybe you've had loss of people in your lives that really meant something to you. But the question to ask yourself is, can you still make music? Not can you still make music? Are you willing to still make music? The key word in my life, and I would suggest in your life, is willing. Not so much are you able, but are you willing? Are you willing to still make music with what you've got left? And if you're willing to do that, you'll be surprised at how much wonderful influence you can be on other people in your life, how much good you can create. So I'm going to close with that question to ask yourself. And think of this. Convince yourself that the world, more than ever, needs the music only you can make. See, I want you to think about the music that only you can make, because we're unique. Each one of us is totally unique. I want to share this, a reminder of your importance. I'd like to share just a little bit of this. It's written by Martha Graham, who was a choreographer, very famous choreographer. There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, think about that now. There's only one of you in all of time. This expression is unique. If you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable, nor how it compares with other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours, clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. You do not even have to believe in your work, in yourself, or your work. Just keep yourself open and aware to the urges that motivate you. Keep the channel open. Stay on the mountaintop. Stay on the mountaintop. And in that way, you're able to drive the negative thoughts into the sea. And better yet, when we really stay on the mountaintop, we don't experience the negative thoughts.